What up, dudes? It's Gaz, and welcome back to another Warframe video. So, we're going over the new Prime Resurgence today, and it's including two of my favorite frames. Additionally, the Ember, Glaive, and Rhino Resurgence is ending on the same date this new Resurgence starts, so make sure you get that stuff before it goes away, because the Glaive might become expensive again, but definitely not as expensive as before. So let's go over this stuff, but before we do, make sure you sub this channel. We do daily Warframe video uploads, news videos, discussion videos, build videos, all that kind of stuff in the right place for Warframe content. And yeah, thanks a ton for all the recent support on the streams and YouTube videos. Alright, let's get right into it with the new Prime Resurgence announcement starting in 9 days. Actually, it's more like 10 days. We got Garuda and Khora Prime. Yeah. Those of you who have been waiting for the Garuda Prime Ephemera, the sanguinax Prime Ephemera, it's coming back, and it is so cool. I will show you all this stuff with some builds. We have also should be discussing this too. I could have swore this would be the rest of the year, but no, it's actually ending in 9 days. The Ember and Rhino Prime dual pack goes away in 9 days. So that's going to be Glaive Prime, Sycoris Prime with that new Incarnon, and Ember Prime. And also with Rhino, you got the Boltor Prime, Ankaros Prime, and the Rhino Prime frame himself. So you have limited time to get these. I guess additionally to these, like the Nova pack should be ending on the same day. So you got a lot of stuff rotating out in 9 days. Okay, so let's go over this new the stuff that's coming back. And yeah, Khora and Garuda have not been vaulted for that long, so they're bringing these back really quick. All right, so for Khora Prime, we have the Hystrix Prime pistol and the dual carry sword. As far as her accessories, you got a special helmet and you got a special Cyandana, and there's also a special emote too we can show. Now, I do really like Khora Prime a lot, but I'm going to just let you know right now, I don't recommend that you use the dual carries Prime with Khora in the long run. If you really like Khora, you should eventually get the Magistar Incarnon or the Ceramic Dagger Incarnon, or just basically don't use the dual carries Prime for the long run. They're respectable stat swords, but you'll be seeing a lot higher crit multiplier than they're supposed to have because we have all these crit damage shards, because I actually play Khora quite often. But yeah, dual carries Prime, they don't have a 17 times multiplier, and the Hystrix Prime, think about this pistol as it has forced procs on it. You can switch between different procs that you can forcefully proc. So we have a Fire Quill, forced fire procs, a Electric Quill, forced electric procs, Ice Quill, and also a Toxin Quill that can do the same thing as well. So forced elemental procs and all of those. So when I made a build for this thing that had no Riven on it, because I don't really like this thing that much, we have gone for Pistol Elementalist and Viral and Heat. So we're having forced heat procs. We can do double fire procs, hopefully, and we have Viral increasing the damage of that DOT. With Elementalist, we also increase the damage of DOT and increase our reload speed. This thing is an extremely terrible magazine, 16 round magazine with Khora, and I think it's 11 round magazine with non-Khora frames. So you'll be reloading this thing a lot, so you gotta get that reload speed down a little bit. It's pretty bad without it. You can also run Merciless for that too. But yeah, a single target pistol, it can do lots of different procs. It can do okay damage, but keep in mind it is a single target pistol, so I wouldn't really recommend it in the long run, but you could maybe use this as a weird condition overload proc, or you could like fire on a Fire Quill, switch, Electric Quill, switch, Ice Quill, switch, Toxin Quill. If you have a lot of stash duration, that could be a lot of procs on them, but that just sounds way too tedious besides compared to just firing one Cedo Glaive, honestly. So, a fun pistol, and you can put on Corrosive Heat, but it's just worse than Viral Heat on this thing, I've noticed, so yeah. Good enough, 80% crit chance, 5.6 multiplier with crit mods, but yeah, we got more power crept OP stuff than this. But it's fine if you buy the bundle, that's all you have. You could use this for like normal missions. The dual carries Prime, they're just pretty much high stat dual swords. Again, not a 13.5 base multiplier at all. And for the build on this, I gotta admit it, I'm pretty spoiled by melee influence nowadays, but here's a non-melee influence build. People that don't like melee influence don't have melee influence. You got Slash, and if you put on melee exposure, you'll get Corrosive and Slash. Can take care of most enemies pretty easily. There's other ones too. You could go for like melee. You could just go for melee influence like this build right here if you wanted. And I can make it AoE electric procs on hit, and that's what I would probably recommend for most melees in Warframe in 2024. But yeah, normal builds also kind of work too if you want to run those. But this one's the best. All right, and then moving on to Khora herself. Again, as I stated, I don't believe that you should use the dual carries Prime in the long term with Khora Prime because she's just basically the way her Whip Claw works. It pulls a bunch of the stats from your melee. So if I was using a Magistar Incarnon, it would pull that increased crit damage from the Magistar, and as well as the Riven stats too. So you want high Riven stat Incarnon weapons for Khora's Whip Claw stat stick. I'll show you the Magistar here in a second. This is my normal camping Khora build. Lycast Hunt is very overrated because you don't need as much energy as Lycast Hunt gives you. This is just easier for everyone to get the energy orbs, and also gives you ammo too if you want to use a Brahma or something. But as far as the build, we have good range, but not too much range, because the range of her fourth ability does cap out about 200%. Actually, no, I think the Whip Claw caps at 200%. This does not cap, but the thing about the Strangle, if you have too much range, enemies will get stuck to the wall. So you don't want to have too much range here. You want to have basically about just 200% exactly for all of her abilities. You could go higher if you want enemies to be stuck to the wall, but yeah. There's also some endo farming builds for Khora that have low range. Because again, we don't want to be stuck to the wall, so you can put on the Khora Strangledome in a endo farming mission, and the enemies will be getting that double loot from the pilfering Strangledome augment mob. But yeah, my standard camping build is right here. But there's plenty of builds for Khora. You could do an Umbra tank build, you could do a speed run build, you got plenty of stuff. A Nourish build works too, so a very powerful frame that can kill enemies really, really fast. Yeah, so I do have some Khora videos on the channel if you want to check it out, but we do have the Magistar stat stick here just to quickly show if you do want to go for full power Khora. So Critical Parallel and Incarnon perk, and that's pretty much it. And the rest of the stuff on here is going to be like Melee Exposure, God Roll Riven. Oh, by the way, Galvanized mods don't work on Khora. This is not the Khora build. That's the Khora build right there. Galvanized mods, they work if you get kills with the weapon, then Whip Claw with Khora, but you cannot get the stacks with Khora herself. So I'd recommend something like this. Alright, so that's going to be Khora hair accessories. Again, I showed the Cyan Dana and all that. You also get Venari Prime, technically, if you buy it. And I will have a video on Venari Prime in the future. But yeah, Venari Prime actually got a lot better with these new mods. So here is a build that's still under construction. There's lots of good mods to put on here, so, you know, put on bond mods if they work. Put on damage mods on her claws. Yeah, the claws are crazy strong now. And I don't even have them fully modded. It takes a lot of 4 minutes to max these out, but similar build to the Kubrau builds, guys. If you have these mods, the only thing you won't be able to have is Mecha Overdrive, so the link thing will not be as crazy. But it's still 129% citizens is pretty good, so yeah. Throw in a high crit primary, and you'll have this thing orange and red critting maybe, and yeah, put on the rest of the mods, and it'll be fully fire proc and slash proc, so pretty nasty. Okay, so moving on to Garuda. Garuda is one of my favorite frames, and I have been messing with some new Garuda builds recently, but I gotta tell you, as a Garuda player, I would not recommend the Nagantaka for a main primary weapon. I'd say use an Incarnon something good instead. But yeah, the Nagantaka Prime is the primary of Garuda, and we actually have an Arcwing gun too, with Garuda called the Corvus Prime. Yes, you get a heavy Arcwing gun and a primary with her bundle, but mainly what you want with it is the frame and this really cool ephemera, the sanguinax Prime. So this is the full Garuda accessory set equipped right now, besides the Cyan Dana, because there is no Cyan Dana with the bundle. So you got these blood spike leg armor pieces called the Kukri Prime. You got a chest piece that's not actually equipped right now. I don't usually equip chest pieces, but yeah, Kukri Prime chest piece is like a blood spike armor piece. If you want that, you could change the color of the blood. We got the Sanguinax Prime is the main draw of this. You get these like blood spike wings that look really cool. And actually the way they work in mission, there is going to be, if you are nearby an enemy, these blood spikes will disappear. So it makes it you not have your screen blocked while you're in combat. Once the enemies are all dead, you will get your blood spike wings back. It's kind of like a mini version of enemy radar, kind of. If you see your ephemera, that means there's no enemies nearby. If you don't, that means there's probably an enemy right by you. So very, very nice little combat tech right there. And for the Nagantaka Prime, it's a crossbow with a alt-fire mode that fires the entire magazine at once. And it has forced impact proc. So if you use the internal bleeding mod on this thing, it can have forced, or not forced slash procs. It will get a slash proc 70% of the time if you have low enough fire rate. And we do have low enough fire rate with this build. But yeah, if you don't have a really good ribbon for this thing, I wouldn't even recommend using it. It's just a generic crossbow that has, I guess, high slash damage, but we're getting forced impact procs to turn into slash damage anyway, so we don't really care about that. So yeah, this is a build that you could use. You wanted to do no Riven, and I wouldn't really recommend this thing. If you do have a Riven, the Corrosive build hits pretty hard, but again, this thing needs a Riven because it's not a very good primary. I have used it for level 10,000 before, but that is definitely with a Riven because I don't think you should be using this thing very often. Yeah, even at level 10,000, it does take a little bit to kill those enemies. It's not going to be an easy one-shot. You're going to need to hit headshots too. So yeah, I wouldn't really recommend it, but it is a pretty powerful crossbow, all things considered. And if you're using it with Garuda, you get built-in punch-throughs. You get 1 meter of punch-through if you have it equipped with Garuda herself. Now, on the Corvus Prime, I'm not going to even act like you should be modding this thing out. The Corvus normal is better for the Prophet Taker, and this thing is actually bad on the Prophet Taker because the hitbox of these shots just doesn't work. So I was messing with a blast build. This could be fun enough for low-level missions, but I would not recommend using it as your main Arcwing gun. The Kuva Grappler is definitely better. The Mazalon is definitely better too, the one you get for free when you build a mech. So yeah, if you want to use this, I was trying to blast build AoE explode enemies. It was kind of fun, but yeah, this thing stuns you when you charge a shot. Just don't use it, really. It's like an Arca Plasmor heavy Arcwing gun, but it has a lot more annoyances involved with it. And also, yeah, if you want the one-shot the Prop Taker now on Chroma, you need to have a really, really godly Riven, or it's just not going to work. Or you can have a Volt on your team helping you, maybe. But yeah, Chroma solo one-shots on PT are a lot harder now, so be aware of that. But yeah, as far as the build for Garuda, there are lots of builds for Garuda I've been messing with. I'm currently doing a new version of the Nourish build right now, revolving around shield tanking. So it's been working pretty well. With Garuda's fourth ability, Seeking Talons, you become invincible while it's active, to an extent. And then while you're invincible, you can proc Arcane Aegis to get that shield regen and become invincible for, like, what, 12 seconds straight. So Garuda's abilities, they actually got fixed recently. She can now jump on overguard enemies with her Dreadmere. So the way that Garuda works, you've never seen Garuda before. Use the first ability, Dreadmere, jump an enemy, you steal some of their life as a Blood Orb. That Blood Orb can scale with energy. You put energy into it, it becomes even more high damage nuke. So you jump on them. You want to cast Nourish too if you have Nourish on your build. Nourish Viral Multiplier affects the Blood Orb you're throwing out. It's usually impact damage. If you hit an enemy with your 4, it will become slash damage and make a big slash proc. And since your Blood Orb scaling off the enemy's health, it is going to be pretty much a guaranteed one-shot on most enemies. You throw in the Viral buff there, and it's pretty much an insta-kill. Vigorous Swap can also be a big damage multiplier too, as can Arcane Arachne, but you don't really need it most of the time. She can be very good with weapons too, because her passive gives a big damage buff to her weapons and her abilities. So very good stuff there. And I almost forgot that Garuda Prime actually gets special claws if you unequip your melee. So if you unequip your amazing one-shot everything melee that's so good, you get these special Garuda Prime talents. They're the highest stat claws in the whole game. There's some weird stuff you could do with these, such as they actually technically count as an ability for some things. So if you have a Limbo on your team that banishes you, puts you in the Rift, you can actually hit enemies through the Rift with your claws on Garuda. And as you can see, I have lots of different builds here. But yeah, I don't really recommend it, but if you do want to use the claws of Garuda, you can. And keep in mind, this has not been updated for the new patch. I'd probably run like Galvanized Steel. I'd probably run like Elementalist. This build was before Elementalist mods existed. So yeah, the highest stat claws in the game. If people really want a Garuda claw, I can make a new one, but yeah, I hardly ever use these, so I wouldn't really recommend going off of this build exactly. But it can still get the job done against at least Orican. That's going to be basically the entire Prime Resurgence review, guys. Like I said, I thought the Glaive Prime and Rhino and Ember were going to be here until the end of the year. No, they're not. They're here until next week. They're here until the 23rd. So if you have not gotten the Glaive or Ember or Rhino, the time is short. And also, if you don't have Nova or Trinity, you might want to get those too, because they should be going away next week as well. So, hope you guys found this video fun and helpful. Plenty of builds are viable on these frames. Like, I have lots of, I have 6 Garuda builds right here, and I have replaced old Garuda builds. Like, this is my main old Garuda build right here. It's so lazily tanky, it's so easy. But not everyone, people want more damage sometimes too. Like, this build can be very good with Molt, getting easy shield gate. But again, there's other ones too. I got a Roar build for Garuda right here, because she's so slash focused, they can give you tons of slash procs. This build right here, Wrathful Advance. She's so good with weapons, guaranteed red crits on weapons with Wrathful Advance. The list goes on, so let me know how you guys felt about this down below. I like to do these kinds of videos when the new Resurgence gets announced. I was surprised by that Glaive thing. I thought it was until the end of the year, but apparently not. So, yep, see you guys next time, and I'll be on stream probably tonight or tomorrow, so take it easy, guys. Peace!